All right, so let's try this again. So first of all, I said that we would go over the most missed question, and if you missed that, it was this one. This was the most missed question on the exit quizzes from yesterday, completing the square. So I'm going to go over that quickly again, just in case you were unable to catch that in the live. If you did catch it, then just kind of fast forward through this part. All right, so for this, let's identify this is our B and this is our C. But we want to get rid of that C so that we can create a new C in order to complete the square. So I'm going to subtract 19 from both sides. And when I do that, I end up with m squared plus 12m plus some new C. And that equals 0 minus 19 is negative 19. And then I'm going to add some new C with it. So now I have to figure out what that new C is. Well, we find that new C by the B. So I'm going to take B, do half of it, and then square it, right? So B is 12. So 12 divided by 2 squared is 6 squared. So that's going to be 36. So I'm going to add 36 on both sides. And when I do that, this side ends up being 36 or minus 19 is going to end up being 17, positive 17. And then on this side, you've got, by doing this, you completed the square. So what goes in here is your variable, and then plus half of your B. Half of your B was this right here, 12 divided by 2, which is 6. So that's what goes in there. To finish this out, you would have to solve. So in order to start solving this, I would do, in order to get rid of the square root, or the square, I would take the square root of both sides. So that gets rid of the square, so I have just m plus 6 equals the square root of 17. But if you remember, when you find the square root of a number, you're going to get a positive number and a negative number both once you pull that out. So we put a plus minus on the outside there to represent that. Then I'm going to have to subtract 6 on both sides in order to get rid of the 6 that's with the m. So that leaves you with m equals, and I always write the negative 6, like this number, and then the square root at the end. So it'd be a negative 6 plus and minus the square root of 17. So that would be your answer. You can leave it like that unless it's asking you for the two different, like in decimal form, or if they want you to write it in two different. So it would be like this, negative 6 plus, square root of 17, or negative 6 minus the square root of 17. So that's how you would write it if you had to pull it apart. If you had to do the decimal, then you would do the square root of 17 in your calculator and then subtract 6 from it. Or you would do the square root of 17 in your calculator and then make it negative and then subtract 6. Alright, so there's that one. Now, let's go back. So the plan was to start with the notes here. So we'll do the notes, and then you would do your IXL practice kind of on your own, and then the exit quizzes you'll do on your own. If you have questions, you need to just reach out to me. Again, you can FaceTime me. My information is in one of the messages that I've sent you about this e-learning stuff, and or you can message me in Canvas. All right, so the note sheet here. To move on to this next section, which tomorrow I will be, I'm going to have to rethink this YouTube live thing. I'm not really sure how well it's working, but however if I do a live, then it'll have to be earlier because I gotta take my daughter to get her wisdom teeth out. But it is going to be a video that is following along with the CUDA video, CUDA software, it's the CUDA notes, it's the introduction of the quadratic formula. Well, in order to be able to do the quadratic formula, you have to be able to simplify radicals or square roots. So that's what we're working on today. So, first of all, simplifying a square root is not just punching it in your calculator and getting a decimal number. Simplifying it is simplifying it down to where it's exact number. And so if you change it to a decimal, a lot of times they would go on forever. And so the exact would be you leaving it in the radical form, but simplified all the way down. So let's start looking at this first one. Square root of 96. So for this one, I think that's like right in the glare. There we go. First thing that you're going to do is this thing, if you remember, you called them factor trees. So back in middle school, you worked on factor trees. So this may start to look familiar once I start doing it. To do this, you're going to look for what two numbers multiply together to make 96. Well, I know 3 times something because 9 plus 6 is 15. 15 is divisible by 3. So it'd be 3 times something. Also 2 because it's an even number. So you do either one. I like 3. 3 times 32. Now 3, the only thing that you can multiply to get 3 is 3 and 1. So whenever it's just the number itself and 1 to multiply together to get it, then you just stop and you circle it. We call those prime numbers. So the number 32, there's whole numbers that you can multiply together to get it. So we're going to take it on down. That would be 4 and 8, or you could do 2 and 16. Doesn't matter which route you take, you will still end in the 6 numbers. 4, you can continue on. So that would be 2 and a 2. But the number 2 is prime. 1 times 2 is the only thing that you can do to get it. So we're going to circle those. 8 is 2 times 4. Circle the 2. But 4 is 2 times 2. So we've gotten down to where all of the numbers have been broken down to prime numbers. Now what you're going to do is you're going to find pairs of numbers. Because if you remember the square root, let's say the square root of 9. A lot of you guys know that one because that's 3 times 3, right? So that's the same thing as saying the square root of 3 times 3. The square root of 9 is 3. Lots of you know that, right? The square root of 9 is 3. So what you did was you said, well, there is one pair of 3s, so you bring that out in front of the square root symbol. Since there's nothing left, the square root goes away. We're going to apply that same concept, but there may end up being numbers left inside. So we're going to look for pairs of the same number. So I have a pair of 2s here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that outside of the square root symbol, but I'm only going to bring one pair of 2, or I'm going to bring out 1 2 in order to represent the pair. So I'm not bringing 2 2s, just a 2 out to represent it. Just like you say I have a pair of socks. You're saying you have 1 pair of socks, right? You don't say I have 2 pairs of socks when you just have 2 socks. It's just a pair. Same concept. I have another pair of 2s, so I'm going to bring out another 2 to represent that pair. So I'm going to mark these out. And then I have a 2 and a 3 left inside. So I still have this 2 and this 3 left inside. Everything is being multiplied all inside here. So everything's multiplied inside, and everything when it comes out gets multiplied. So I now have 4 square root of 6. And then this would be its simplest form. Going to move on to the next one. So 216, it's a big number. We're going to break this down. So you have, first of all, it's an even. Even numbers are easy because you can just say 2 times something. And in order to figure what that 2 times something is, you would just divide it by 2. So 216 divided by 2 is going to be 108. The 2 is a prime number, so I'm circling it. And that's like right in the glare. Isn't that awesome? And then the 108 is also even. So I'm going to say 2 times something is 108, and that something is 54. And then the 54, again, it's even, so I can do 2 times 27. 27 is 3 times 9. 3 is one of those prime numbers you circle. As you notice, I'm circling all of my prime numbers as I'm writing them. All the other numbers don't get circled until they're prime, right? So once it gets down to its prime, it gets circled. 9 is 3 times 3. So now I'm going to pull pairs of numbers. So I have a pair of 3s. So that 3, just one of the 3s, is going to go outside here to represent it. There's no more 3s, so that 3 is going to be left inside. There's a pair of 2s, right? So I'm going to pull a 2 out in front here. And again, everything's multiplied, so when they get pulled out, they're also multiplied. And then I have this lonely 2 inside here, so it's going to join the 3. They don't get to come out because they're not a couple. They're not the same. If they were the same number, they could come out, but they're not, so they're going to stay inside. And then I'm going to simplify this down so I have 6, square root of 6. Moving on. All right, number 3 is 98. Let's move it away from the glare a little. There we go. All right, so number 3, we are going to branch off of 98. What times what is 98? It's an even number, so you can do 2. 2 times 49. And then 49 is 7 times 7. 7 is also one of those prime numbers. The only numbers you can multiply to get 7 is 7 and 1. Well, they're like whole numbers. And so I'm going to pull out any pairs, and they're going to go out in front of the square root symbol. There's a pair of 7s, so this 7 goes out in front. And then this lonely 2 gets left inside. 7 square root of 2. Number 4, the square root of 18. You've got 18 is 2 times 9. 2 is a number you circled, it's prime. 9 is 3 times 3. And so we're going to pull out pairs. There's a pair of 3s. So that 3 comes out in front. And then left inside is your lonely 2. 3 square root of 2. Number 5 is the square root of 72. Again, we're going to break this down. This is going to be 2 times 36. 36 is 6 times 6. Now, oh, oops, we don't circle those. So those aren't prime, but I'm going to tell you a nice cheat. Instead of continuing on to the primes, that once you have a number repeating, even if it's not a prime number, you can go ahead and take that number out in front. So like I have a 6 repeating, so I would take that 6 and put it out in front of my square root symbol, and I have a 2 left. So that's a cheat. I'm going to prove to you that that's actually a thing. So if I were to continue on, if I continued on the way I'm supposed to, so 6 is 2 times 3, 2 times 3, You see the pattern, don't you? So you've got this 3. There's a pair of 3s, so the 3 would come out in front. You have a pair of 2s that would come out in front, and then you've got the lonely 2. So that would be 6 square root of 2. So what I did was I just saved myself some time because I ended up with a number being multiplied with itself here. So I had the number repeating, which means I know that's going to go ahead and pull out in front. Last one I'm doing with you here. Hopefully you guys look at this and go, why are we working this one out? This one's 12. It is. It is 12. That is your answer. It's a whole number. I'm going to show you how that actually works. So if you don't know it, it's not something you have memorized, you can actually get to it. So this one would be, let's say you didn't know, so you would say 2, it's even. So 2 times 72. And then that's going to be 2 times 36. Let's say you say it's 6. Let's say you get to this point and you're like, oh, I'm going to pull the 6 out in front. And then I have a pair of 2s. I have nothing left inside, so that's going to be just a 12. Or maybe that's not the way you saw it. So maybe you said this was 2 times 18, and then 2 times 9, and then 3 times 3. So let's say you did all this work. You're still going to get the same answer if you did it right. So you've got a pair of 3s that goes out in front. You have a pair of 2s. Again, we're only representing one of them to represent the pair. And then another 2. So I have 2 times 2 times 3. There's nothing that goes inside, so the square root goes away. So that would be 4 times 3, which is 12. Still end up with that same number. So just wanted to show you guys how that works out. All right, at this point in time, you should pause the video and work on these you try it problems. Once you come back, you're going to see me kind of working through them, but I'm going to do it really quickly, and I'm not going to talk through it for you to check your answers. And then, so again, pause the video, try these 7 through 10, and then come back on and check your work with me. Pause. All right. I'm assuming you are back now and you're checking the work that you did. Maybe you got hung up on number 9 and you came on here to check to see what I did on number 9. Number 9 I believe to be in its simplest form already, because what I did was I went through the whole like factor. So it would be 1 and 343, 2 isn't 1, 3 isn't 1, 4 isn't 1, I tried it, 5 isn't 1, 6 isn't 1, and so on, and I went through the whole list. I didn't see any that would end up being able to go into it evenly. So 343 I believe is in its simplest form. So you would just leave it like it is. I didn't do that purposely trying to trick you. Alright, so we are going to do, I'm going to model these last, I think 4. Oh no, I've got 6 I'm going to do. And then you're on your own to do the rest, and then you can again check, just like we did just a minute ago, where you'll check what you did with my work. On this one, you already have a number out in front. So the only difference between doing these and the ones that we just did is that you have to recognize the fact that you already have a number out here in front of the square root. Since it's right next to it and there's no operation symbol in between, it means that you're multiplying. So that's being multiplied with this, which means anything that comes out in front gets multiplied with it. That's it. It's the only difference between what we've already done and what these are. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one again. We did 2 times, or no, we did 3. We did 3 times 32, and then that was 4 and 8. That's 2 and 2, 2 and 4, 2 and 2. So we pulled out a 2 out in front, so that means I'm going to go ahead and write this. So we've got a 10 already out in front. We're going to pull out a 2 out in front with it. And then we've got another set of 2 that's going to go out in front with it. And then we've got 2 and 3 inside, so 2 times 3 inside. Everything's multiplied. So we have 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 10 is 40, and then times 2 times 3, which is 6. And that would be your answer for that one. Again, you've already got a number out in front, so that number out in front is just going to be multiplied with anything that comes out in front of this. So you've got, write it up here. So you've already got a 9 square root, and then we're just going to figure out what goes in there. So 245, it ends in a 5, which means that you can do 5 times something, is it? So 5 times, and that's going to be 49. 5 is one of those prime numbers, so you circle it. And then 49 is 7 times 7. So I have a pair of 7s that's going to come out in front. And then I'm left with a 5 inside. So the answer to this one would then be 7 times 9 is going to be 63. Square root of 5. Alright, on this one, again, you have the 7 out, so it's going to be out in front here. And then the square root of something. Okay, so the 600 is easy. Anything that ends with 100 is 6 times the 100, or it's 100 times whatever that is. So 6 times 100. 6 is 2 and 3. And 100 is 10 and 10. Which again, there's those repeating. They're not primes, but they're repeating. So I'm going to go ahead and cheat and pull that out in front. And then I don't have any other repeating. So that means that 2 and 3 is going to be stuck inside. So we've got 70 square root of 6. Number 14, you've got, bring it down a little. So we've got 5 square root of something. Let's figure out what that is. So 45 is going to be 5 times 9. Circle the 5. 9 is 3 times 3. I'm going to pull that pair of 3 out in front with that 5 that was already there. And then this 5 is on the inside. So I have 15 square root of 5. Number 15, you've got 5 on the outside. So I've got to break this down. This is going to be 18 times 10. It ends in a 0, so it's 10 times whatever that is. And then the 18, 2 times 9. 9 is 3 times 3. 10 is 2 times 5. So then I go back and I look, I have a pair of 3s. That's going to go out in front with the 5. I also have a pair of 2s. So that 2 is going to go out in front. And then the only number left that's circled, we're only concerned with the circled ones, is this 5. So the 5 stays inside. So you've got 2 times 3 times 5, so that's 6 times 5 is 30. 30 square root of 5. One more. It's got the 3 out in front. I'm going to put the 3 out in front here. So break down the 405. It ends in a 5, so 5 times something. So 405 divided by 5 is going to be 81. Circle the 5. 81 is 9 times 9. Remember how I said a cheat? Once you repeat a number, you can go ahead and pull that number, even though it's not primes. Pull that number out, so the 9 comes out. And then it's left with a 5 inside. So that's going to be 27 square root of 5. Alright, at this point, you need to try this on your own. So you're going to go down to the you try it's, and you're going to do those. And then you can just check back and I'll have the answers up here. I'm going to work through with the video going just so you can kind of see me doing my work. You can kind of fast forward if you're just wanting to the end to see the answers. But if you're someone that struggled on some of them and you're like, how did she get that? You'll see the work that I did to get it. So go ahead and pause and try this on your own. You paused, right? All right. That was extra. Jeez. Okay, so I'm going to erase this, move this up so you guys can see what I do for the rest of them. Alright, that's all I've got for you. If you have questions as to how to work these out, now I will tell you, those of you who have the calculators, now that I made you do all of this work, those of you who have calculators, like these, this one, this type of calculator right here this will simplify these for you. How awesome is that? You'll need to make sure that you're in the right setting, and if you were to, like, let's put in the square root of 1,215. So the square root of 1,215, it should end up giving you something like this. So if it doesn't do that with these Casio ones, if it doesn't do that, there is a way that you can program it to do that. Like, there's a certain setting in the mode. Just contact me and I'll kind of walk you through it. But if you don't have this Casio one, I tried on all these others. So I tried on this other Casio. There's not a function to do that. I tried on these. I couldn't find a mode to fix it. And then I also tried on these, and I couldn't find the mode to change it to in order for it to do that. So you're kind of on your own. You can use a calculator though to simplify just by dividing. So I just kind of know divisibility tricks, and that's how I was able to, like, pull, oh, it's a 5. Oh, it's going to be divisible by 3. To know it's divisible by 3, if you add the digits and that number is divisible by 3, then the whole thing is. So, like, that would be 2 plus 4 plus 3 would be 9, and 9 is divisible by 3. So that's how I knew the whole thing would be. So it would kind of save you a little bit of time for that. But anyways, so good luck. Do the IXL practice, screenshot the whole screen, and submit that to me. And then also the exit quizzes. Do that and get that done. All right. Bye.